In the xy plane, the graph of the equation above assumes its maximum value at x equals 2. What is the value of b? So more than two ways to do this. Let's go through the first two ways that have to do with knowing your different forms for your parabolas, your vertex form, and then also figuring out the axis of symmetry. And those will be the quick, easy ways, but again, you have to remember those facts. And then for the third way, I'll show you a way where you don't need to know those things. You got to just think a little creatively with what you're given. All right, so first way to look at it is this. If you remember from your parabolas, when they're in the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c, you can get the axis of symmetry, which is basically the x value of the turning point, right, where the parabola turns around, by figuring out negative b over 2a. And that gives you the x value, which is basically this value right here, right? Because they tell us this thing hits a maximum at x equals 2. So the graph looks something like that. So notice the axis of symmetry will also be at x equals 2. So essentially what we can do is just set this equal to 2 and solve for b. Now we know a is given to us as negative 2. So we're going to substitute that in. 2 times negative 2 equals 2. Negatives cancel. We're left with b over 4 equals 2, or b equals 8, which is our answer. So that's one way to do it, probably the fastest way. Second way is to use your knowledge of the vertex form, which, remember, is going to be ax minus h squared plus k. And this point hk is known as the vertex, and remember the vertex is pretty much what we found up here, right? The x-coordinate of the vertex is the axis of symmetry. It's the place where the parabola turns. So this h value is equal to the place where this parabola turns around, which is going to be at the maximum value, right? Going back up here, this is that point where it turns around. This is the vertex. And here they tell us that the x value of that vertex, of that maximum value, is going to be 2. So we know this is going to be 2, and then k. So let's go ahead and put this in. So we know that a is negative 2, right? Because that's what we had before, negative 2x squared. And then we do x minus 2 squared plus k. Let's go ahead and distribute this out. So we're going to get negative 2 times x squared minus 4x plus 4 plus k. Distribute that. We get negative 2x squared plus 8x minus 8 plus k. So we look at this and we say, well, how does this correspond to my original? My original equation was negative 2x squared plus bx plus 5, I believe, right? Yeah. So I look at this and I say, well, my 2x squared here matches up. This 5 must go with my 8 and my k, right? Because these don't have x's, which means my bx must be equal to 8x. So again, b is 8. A little bit longer, a little more involved than the first method. Now, what if you forgot or didn't remember or didn't even know any of the things about the vertex form axis of symmetry? What can we do with this problem? Well, there's a way to abuse the symmetry of the parabola, and this is probably the main thing to remember here. Remember, a parabola is symmetrical. So we know that if I've got some parabola that looks like this, and it's got a turning point at x equals 2. If I go to the left 1, so if I look at x equals 1, that's going to have the same value as x equals 3, right, because of the symmetry of the parabola. So I can plug in the points 1 and 3, or even better, let's just make it easy. Let's do 0 and 4. I don't know if that's a root, but you get the idea, right? So I'm moving 2 to the left from 2, I get 0, 2 to the right from 4, and I plug in x is 0 and x equals 4, and they must have the same value because of the symmetry. They're both at the same height. So let's do that. So my equation was negative 2x squared plus bx plus 5. So let me plug in 0. So I plug in 0, I get this cancels, this goes away. All I'm left with is 5. And this must equal the point when x is 4. So I plug that in. I get negative 2 times 4 squared plus 4b plus 5. 5 equals, let's see, we get negative 32 plus 4b plus 5. So I get 5 equals negative 27 plus 4b. Add 27 to both sides, I get 4b equals 32. Divide both sides by 4, I get b equals 8, which is our answer. So that's 3 ways to do it. If you know of any other ways, please let me know. But I think going through all these exhausts the major ways to approach this problem.